The new season is upon us, and the race for the planet is back. Hello and welcome. This is Extreme. Hello and welcome to Extreme Season 3, the race for the planet. This is a sport with a purpose. It features fully electric SUV racing in some of the most remote and challenging environments on the planet. And look at that, it starts here in Neom, Saudi Arabia. My name is Nikki Shields, and alongside me in commentary is Andrew Coley.
Thanks, Nikki. This is my third season in this fantastic championship, and if you missed the first two, you need to go back and take a look. It's been absolutely action-packed. But it's not just about the action, it's about what the series stands for. We've got 10 teams packed with superstar drivers, with one male and one female driver in each lineup. Off track, Extreme looks at environmental issues and how we might solve them. We're already using hydrogen energy in the paddock, and the race tyres, for instance, are made using recycled plastic bottles and rice husks. Incredible.
It really is indeed. It's also, of course, about leaving a legacy. From the Arctic to the rainforest, Extreme always leaves behind a positive impact. Plenty to explore, so let's crack on with the Season 3 adventure.
So we start again in Saudi Arabia. Season 3, third time we started in this desert country, but this time we're not quite so deserty. We're down on the coast. We had round 1 yesterday, round 2 today. Remember, each of these locations is now a double header.
Indeed, and our third and fourth round will be heading to Scotland, the first Scottish Prix to take place. The theme of that one will be Hydro, 13th and 14th of May.
Sardinia, Italy. We were there, of course, for a double header last year. Wildfires, we're revisiting those themes and how the locals are reacting and responding to them.
And then we have a bit of a TBC in the calendar to be announced where we are heading on the 16th and 17th of December. We will find out, can't wait.
And then, of course, season finale, Antofagasta in Chile. Cannot wait for that.
Yeah, beautiful location.
There's a look at the paddock. Our runners and riders, of course, some of them after drama yesterday have had a lot of work to do overnight. Abt Cooper being one of those teams who really have had absolutely tons to do. Now, if you didn't see any around 1, I think you are due a catch-up. It was pretty exciting. We've lined up the very best of the action for you so we can bring you up to speed before we go racing here in Neom, Saudi Arabia for round 2. So here's a look back at yesterday.
Extreme's third season got off to an incredible start at round 1 of the Desert Prix. With the qualifying rounds this season consisting of wheel-to-wheel racing, there was plenty of opportunity for action, with some drivers pushing the course limits a bit too far.
Laia Sanson hooked a wheel in the water!
And the Odyssey 21s too hard.
She's got to avoid the grass and she rolls! And the Andretti Altequila is on its roof.
X44 new boy Fraser McConnell found an inside line just after the start.
McConnell with an amazing hole shot.
But after some incredibly tight racing, it was Acciona Sainz who took the top qualifier spot to secure their place in the grand final. The bottom 5 qualifiers headed out for the redemption race, and despite a podium being out of reach, the drivers weren't holding back.
The Andretti machine's gone over again! Timmy Hansen this time has dipped off in the inside of turn 2.
But the carnage didn't end there.
Reality has gone over the front of the McLaren.
After that Abt Cooper crash, the red flag briefly stopped the action. before an issue for JBXE saw them grind to a halt. It was Neon McLaren who managed to outlast and outrace their rivals to take 6th place overall and 8 valuable championship points. With the redemption race run, it was time for the first grand final of the season. A super close start saw all 5 cars side by side into turn 1, but it was the season 1 champion, Johan Kristoffersen, who found the best line to power into the lead, followed closely by Veloce Racing. With poor visibility in the dust, the number 99 GMC Hummer EV machine lost control and rolled the car, creating a slow zone out on track. And after the driver switch, it was a mistake that would decide the race.
136-second penalty for car 6, slow zone speeding.
A penalty for RXR saw them drop to 3rd, with Veloce Racing taking the team's first ever Prix win.
The sun is setting here in the paddock. It's Saturday night. We've had our very first final of the Desert Prix and the redemption race, of course. I'm joined by our winners, Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor of Veloce. And Kevin, I heard you say at the podium with me, you've broken the curse of the Desert Prix. It's the one you didn't have, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, 12 months ago, I was lying on the floor with a broken back. So this redemption coming back like this and winning the Saudi race, it means so much. So it was a great day, and I couldn't have done it without my amazing team and, of course, my amazing teammate.
You've been in your very own redemption race. And Molly, of course, you're coming back in alongside Kevin once again, back into the championship. And this relationship, we saw it was working in Uruguay, and now it's getting results.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be back and to be back and take the win in the first race. So, yeah, as you said, everything's working really well. It's been so great to work alongside Kevin, and I think, you know, it's so important to be able to maximise that teamwork. So I think, yeah, that's something the whole team and working with Kevin, we've really been able to hit the ground running. And yeah, we've got, you know, a big year ahead of us, but it's a great way to start.
It's a huge year, but you've got the best possible start under your belts. Well done, congratulations. You better head to the press conference. We've held you up. Sorry, off you go. Well, from absolute jubilation, elation of Veloce to, oh, Clara, look at your face, to, well, despair and frustration. And just, Clara, look at the bodywork we've got behind you. It was not Abt Kupra's day today. You were in the water at one point, Nasser was in the water, and then a huge role for Nasser in the final. He is okay, I've just seen him in the paddock, but I mean, what's happening for tomorrow? Because there's going to be a lot of work done, or are you taking the championship car?
We're not confirmed yet, but the guys are doing everything they can. So we will go out racing tomorrow. Let's see with what car, but no, it's been a tough day. The pace we're super confident with, it feels super nice. The car is feeling great, but it's not been our day at all, unfortunately.
It hasn't been your day, but the good thing about a double header is you get a second chance tomorrow, albeit not much time to get that fixed.
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow is a brand new day. You know, we have a new race, 2 qualies, and hopefully a grand final to show our true colours. So we're excited.
We'll see. Best of luck. Sorry for today. Let's head on up. We're going to see if we can grab a reaction from Chip Ganassi as well, because there was a role for RJ Anderson in the final, of course, alongside Amanda Sorensen. And it was their debut as a pairing. Brilliant result in the qualifying to get in. But then RJ, just talk me through what happened in that final.
A roller coaster of a day, huh? It started off so good, and then I'm bummed for Amanda and my team, you know. We had a strategy on the start, got a great gate pick, and the strategy just didn't work out, you know. That's how racing goes sometimes. So pulled up the hill and knew my work was cut out for me. So obviously 4 really fast guys in front of me. I couldn't let them out of my sight. So it was kind of a train around the course, and then in the dust, I just fully got off course, went to come on course, was going to miss the flags, veered to go up the side of the jump, and it was so soft. I went over one time, and it broke a sensor. So the car's fine, I was fine, but that was the end of our day, unfortunately.
Frustrating, isn't it? Well, we're sorry. Better luck again tomorrow.
So plenty of action during round 1. Wondering whether or not round 2 can be quite as exciting. I suspect with Extreme that it really will be. Can't wait to get racing again for round 2. So down in the paddock, you'll be aware, obviously we like to race without a trace. Left-hand side is the paddock. There we go, swooping down towards it. Those little icons above the tents are telling you some of the different efforts that we make at the various venues to try to, as we say, race without a trace, leave a positive impact. net carbon zero from season 1. A ban on single-use plastic at the race sites saved 75,000 single-use plastics in season 1 alone.
The other thing that's rather amazing about this series is that Extreme uses the Anoa hydrogen fuel system to actually create its own carbon-free energy on site. And that's used to charge the race car batteries and also the supporting power units at every race. And would you believe the water that's generated is then used as a byproduct to clean the cars, which is just fantastic. So there we are. That's why all the cars are looking so sparkly.
Heikki Kovalainen, one of our rookie drivers alongside Hedda Hosas this year. Hedda continuing to learn at Extreme. That's Amanda Sorensen. Impressive yesterday. Will she continue to impress again today?
Yeah, one of the youngest drivers in the paddock. Jamaican driver, U2 X44. We have Fraser McConnell there, having a bit of fun with Cristina Gutierrez, who won the championship last year, of course, with the team. The Veloce Racing drivers, winners from yesterday, Kevin Hansen and the Season 1 champion, Molly Taylor, looking to impress. And then, of course, 5-time World Rallycross champion, Johan Kristoffersson for RXR alongside Michaela Arlen-Kotolinsky.
Off the start, down towards turn 1, you can see there's that 90 right. Now, if you're watching yesterday, that is absolutely key to what happens in turn 2, which is the left kink on the green section before we head up to sector 3, and that's where the Continental Traction Challenge starts.
Yeah, and you can see here the yellow section. This is where it's absolutely critical for the teams to set the fastest time in this Continental Traction Challenge. 2 points available. It's a combination of both drivers from the team, but it counts towards the championship. Also, if they're tied in the qualifying, they will look towards the timing in the Continental Traction Challenge. Towards the end of that lovely straight past the Red Sea on your left, you go into a relatively tight left-hander and then another sweeping, sorry, a right-hander, then left-hander, and then down into the back section of the track, section 4. A great opportunity here for the Anoa Hyperdrive pass. We've seen quite a few drivers using that yesterday. Will we see it again today? And then, of course, the track splits either towards the finish line or to the left-hand side into the driver switch.
So here's a look at qualifying 1 from round 2 this morning. In the background, the App Cooper machine, you can see going slowly. We all thought there was a problem for Clara Anderson. They've actually used a championship car, but they were going to have to serve a 30-second penalty, and they had a bit of a cunning plan. Jumping up over the finish line there, you can see Timmy Hansen followed by Kevin Hansen, Fraser McConnell with a huge bounce in that car. Timo Scheider for Carl Cox Motorsport coming into the switch zone. App Cooper had been out and set an incredible time in that Continental Traction Challenge. That was why they held back, and they were pinning their hopes on Nasser Al-Attiyah being able to get a good run in Q2. Quite a strong strategy. Let's see whether it pays off. Veloce's Molly Taylor letting Katie Munnings know that she was coming very early on in the race with a big nudge into the back of the Alta-Keelit machine, which meant that she then lost the front of the Veloce machine, but it didn't affect her when she hit the Anoa Hyperdrive and passed Munnings down the Red Sea Straight. I mean, what a straight, what a fantastic piece of circuit. So Taylor taking the win. Good drive by her and Kevin Hansen. On to the second race. Look on the right-hand side. Johan Kristoffersson gets squeezed by Ekstrom on one side and Kovalainen on the other. I mean, what a driver lineup we've got this year. They look to the inside line, see Tanner Faust in the Neil McLaren leading, but several drivers here used their Anoa Hyperdrive on the uphill run out of gate 1. It was a change in tactics from yesterday, and that put Kristoffersson into the lead over the first couple of laps. Brilliant move by them. A couple of the other teams have picked up on it as well. Ekstrom piling the pressure on here, trying to find a way through, and then down into the switch zone to hand over for the second 2 laps. 45 seconds to get that driver switch done, remember. Out cleanly, side by side. Laia Sands did have to give up the position here. She dropped into P3 behind Amanda Sorensen, who continues to impress today. But out front, it was Michaela Arlen-Kotolinsky taking the win for RXR with Johan Kristoffersson. So at the end of Q1, you can see it was wins for Veloce, Hansen and Taylor, and also for RXR, Kristoffersen and Arlen Kotlinski. The results of Q1 give you the grids for Q2. So the odd numbers stay in their heat, the even numbers switch heat. We've got some fantastic lineups coming up in Q2, and that's where the championship positions are at the minute. If it ends on a tie, remember, it'll come down to which team is fastest in the Continental Traction Challenge.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Desert X Prix. Qualifying round 2, heat 1, is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
So we are feeling energized ahead of the 2 qualifying races, Heat 1 and Heat 2 in this second qualifying race. It's the opportunity to see 5 cars going head-to-head out on track. And then, of course, we will get to find out which teams will go through to the grand final and which will be trying to make a recovery in the redemption race. Right, so here we are. Here is the grid. So over on the left-hand side, we have Molly Taylor, our Season 1 champion, of course, and yesterday's race winner in the Veloce racing car. Amanda Sorensen for Chip Ganassi Racing, a rookie driver who didn't manage to get out on track yesterday in her race. Katie Munnings will be on the Andretti Altekilat car. Emma Gilmore, the New Zealander, and Christine Jeezy for Carl Cox Motorsport.
Here we go then, green light for Q2. Carl Cox Motorsport machine getting away at least. They were concerned just before the start on the inside line here. It's Taylor who gets through yesterday's winner. Katie Munnings running around the outside of Sorensen. And then here we see immediately hyperdrive being used. Sorensen getting back past Katie Munnings. That's where we saw a lot of the starters using it in Q1. Johan Kristoffersen saying it's uphill from that gate up towards gate 2, and that a lot of the teams were feeling that was a good place to use it. Really interesting to see with a 2-day competition that they've developed their strategy on where they want to use it off the start. So initially it was directly off the start. That can lead to a bit too much wheel spin, so they're using it out of gate 1 up to gate 2, slightly uphill. Tidily done, look at this, and Taylor's nicely out in the lead. Interesting, Katie Munnings had to pull out the dust. The dust has come up a little bit, Nikki. Visibility isn't so good.
Yeah, we kind of saw that yesterday, actually. I think as we get a bit more heat into the air, it dries it out. It dries out that sand that's a little bit damper in the morning when we're starting so early on. So it settles quite quickly. It was also quite windy this morning, whereas later towards the end of the day, or sort of in the midday sun, I suppose we are at now, it's much drier. So we do have those visibility issues.
Still pretty smooth up the straight. Nobody been in the drink today. Taylor and Hansen. By the way, the penalty they were given for speeding in the first session was withdrawn. So they checked the data. It was the GPS speed which said they were speeding, and they checked the transmission speed, which is what me and Nikki said they probably do. And they realised they weren't speeding. And in fact, they also took away the penalty for Andretti Altekilat. They took away the penalty for them as well. So those penalties meant things went back to how they were before. That meant it was a win for Veloce and a win for RXR in Q1. Now, yesterday, we were looking this morning, actually, Nikki, at the points and what the worst scores were that made it through to the grand final. Remember, there's only 2 finals this year, grand final and redemption race.
Yeah, so basically out of the top 5 teams that went through to the grand final, 4 of those 5 each had a win in one of the qualifying rounds. However, Rosberg X Racing were effectively the worst of the best qualifiers that got through to the grand final. They had a 4th place in Heat 1, and then they recovered it with a 2nd place. So effectively, we could be looking at a 4th place. If we look back at what the Heat 1 results, it was Abs and Neon McLaren who had a 4th place. So these guys are going to really be looking for the best possible result to make sure they can secure themselves in that grand final position.
Yeah, great analysis, thank you, mate. And also we were saying, well, the minimum points yesterday was 12, but behind that, there were 4 cars on 8, and that's where the Continental Traction Challenge could come into it. If those equal points were over the break between the top final and the second final, then the Traction Challenge becomes really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, again, it was Rosberg X Racing. They were just on the bubble there. They got 12 points. It was Cupra, JBX, Neom, Carl Cox, who all missed out down on 8 points each. However, if you remember yesterday, we saw so many DNFs. So I think there'll be quite a few, yeah, well, the points might be a little bit higher this time round.
Right, looking at our gaps at the minute, 0.9 of a second between RXR and GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing, but Katie Munnings is in there as well. She is just refreshing the screen. Just a couple of seconds back, she was close. You're on board now, so we're on board now with Munnings, trying to chase down Sorensen in front. Get as close to the water as you can. Try and just see if you can get a little bit of a smoother run, a bit more traction.
Now, obviously, along that lovely straight is where we've seen most of the drivers use that Enoa hyperdrive, and it gives the car that extra energy. It goes up to a whopping 400 kilowatt hours of maximum power. That's the equivalent of about 550 brake horsepower, which is obviously phenomenally fast. These cars, the Odyssey 21, do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds. And just a reminder, of course, for anyone who is new to this series, these championship cars are very much a one design fleet. Of course, they look all different. They've got their logos, their branding, but they're effectively pretty much exactly the same car underneath. It's a standardized package. The battery is produced by Williams Advanced Technology, and it's all manufactured by Spark Racing Technology. And a few familiar names there who come from the Formula E paddock.
Katie Munnings, look, getting stuck right in here. So she's really in now with the outer keylet for Andretti. Coming into the switch zone, she'll want to be as close as she can. Look how hot she comes in on the brakes in the dust, just stops it in time. So Munnings comes in really hot on the back of that Hummer EV. Taylor has come in with a lead of 4.8 seconds. Munnings' last gap was showing 1.2. I can promise you it's not that right now. And we saw how key that was in the last race when we very nearly got a pass on the exit of the switch zone. So in the come, 45 seconds minimum now. Remember this one, it's all the female drivers first handing over to the males, but in the next one, Nasser Al-Attiyah is going in because Cupra have actually come up with a really clever strategy, which we'll talk you through when we see Heat 2 of Q2. Door up then, let's have a look at this. Off comes the window there, out you come, grab the seat insert, pull it out, there it goes.
And you can see there's such a narrow gap. Although the door looks like it's opening fine, it's really difficult to get into that car quickly.
Look at Munnings coming in so hot, wasn't she, in the background, fully locked up. That was really well done by Katie. I feel like the confidence might be coming back, Nikki. You said earlier it takes a while. Her teammate Timmy Hansen gets in, belts on. Hansen is fired up. Look at the look on his face, cracking his knuckles. 1.2 seconds to RJ Anderson. Having said that, Ekstrom couldn't pass Anderson yesterday, so Anderson is no slouch. Molly Taylor all smiles as she comes in for Veloce. Kevin Hansen going to take that car out. Close between them. Kevin's got a nice gap here, really. Oh, the Hummer was late away. It was later into the boxes. No, it's probably about right. Their box was further down the pit lane. Emma Gilmore's right there as well. We're going to go down and have a chat with Molly, who's just brought the car home in P1 for Kevin to lead out the second half of this run.
Molly, the best possible start. Talk me through it.
Yeah, we're really happy with that. It's really hard to predict because we've seen, almost every grid position can work out if you do it right. So yeah, it is so much depends on how you do it and how everyone else does it. So yeah, we're happy that our strategy worked and then we can just maintain.
Best of luck. We'll see how Kevin goes.
So there is Kevin Hansen at the wheel now. RJ Anderson P2, Timmy Hansen P3. Hansen, no, not again! A third roll for Andretti. This is unbelievable. 3 rolls in 2 days. It's the softest roll ever, but that car is smack in the middle of the track. That will be a slow zone for sure. It was a bad bounce, Nikki. It looked so innocuous, and it's gone over again. That's going to be a DNF, and that's likely going to put them out after they were looking so much stronger today.
Absolutely gutting for them. I mean, how he managed to roll that car, it just shows just a tiny change in the undulation of the sand underneath can have such a massive knock-on effect. This is a huge disappointment for the team, for Andretti. They were really coming, and after Katie did such a good job there in the first half of that qualifying heat, They are going to be so disappointed. Yeah, whether or not they can claw themselves back. Looking back at their, I mean, they had a Q3 in their first heat, so they're not going to be going through to the grand final, that's for sure.
Right, let's take a look in a moment back at what happened. It looked like slow motion the first time we saw it, but I was concentrating on the Kevin in front. You're on board now with Timmy. Here he comes. One bounce. Look, it's a nothing. It's a nothing. It's the way the rear right has dug it. Look how slow it is. It's even slow onto the roof. It literally, if he could turn that car over, Nicky, he could. Oh, I've red flagged it. They've red flagged the race. So they're going to stop this one. We're after the switch. We'll have to see what race control decide to do. There's Timmy. He's okay, but red flag. Okay, so the Andretti Ultrakeelet car has gone over again for a third time. We're going to have a catch up with Katie Munnings, who I imagine cannot believe the bad luck this team is suffering. Katie, I can't believe it, mate. I'm sure you can't believe it either. That was the slowest, most innocuous, unlucky roll I think I've seen in this series since the start.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, like, still lost for words, to be honest with you. I think it's so hard to see. You get the dust from the cars in front and all of these little compressions and dips and ruts you have to set the car up for. And when you can't see them, you know, you're just taking so much risk. And that's what I felt in the lap. You know, I nearly hit a chevron board that was hiding a tree because it's just when the dust clears, you're at a point that you don't think you are. It's so disorientating. So it's so bad luck for the team. You know, they deserve so much more. I just think we're going to have a reset and really debrief on all of this and see where it's gone wrong this weekend. But I'm hoping that's the bad luck out of the way for this year because, you know, everyone works so hard for it and we're capable of so much more than this.
Katie, there's obviously so much expectation, anticipation, preparation that goes into these races. Just describe to us your emotions right now.
Yeah, obviously I'm gutted. You know, we came into this, we were second fastest in both practice sessions and we knew we had a lot of pace in there, but the problem is, you know, when you're in the dust and there's not a lot you can do, to be honest with you. You know, it is just so hard to see, and it's as simple as that. You know, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't see where you're going, then... And I think that's probably what happened with him over those bumps. I haven't spoken to him yet, we haven't debriefed, but I'm guessing, you know, when you have all those little compressions, you have to be on it and you have to have the tyre pointing in exactly the right, and it's a really instinctive feeling. And it's like having one of your senses taken away, I guess. So it's just the way it is. You know, this new qualifying format is more like a semi-final with every race now, and you have to lay it all on the line to make the final. And we knew, really, we were on the limit being P3, and we had to move up one more to have a safe shot of the final. So I think that's what he was trying to do, close that gap down.
Katie, thank you so much, and good luck for the rest of today.
Okay, another look at the incident for Timmy Hansen. On board with Timmy here. So he comes through. Waypoint 2, it's the king left. We simply come through here flat out all weekend. One bounce, look at this. He angles the wheels right, desperately trying to hold on to it, but it's too soft and it goes over. I don't know if we'll stay. We don't stay for the little hit from Tanner. Here he is on board. Look, he's looking pretty relaxed. Up and over here, he'll get the bad bounce. You see it, he knows, and he's like, no, 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 no! But he can't do anything about it. So restart then. Kevin Hansen let away from the line first. They're going to set them off at the same intervals they were at in the when they basically, well, maybe when they left the command centre, the switch zone, or maybe the last interval we have. Faust now goes away from McLaren. And Timo Scheider will be away last for Carl Cox Motorsport. Of course, no Hansen and Munnings. Oh my goodness me, flirting with it there. Tanner incredibly close to that waypoint flag. Remember, you get, I think it's 10 seconds if you knock a flag down. So the gaps actually now, to be honest, Nicky, are a little wider apart. You know, the biggest race we were looking at was the Andretti Ultrakeelet chasing down the Hummer EV, and of course Timmy's gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually brilliant for Timmy Hansen. He's now got, Kevin Hansen. He's now got a nice, clean stretch in front of him. Not too much pressure from Anderson behind, a 5-second gap. And obviously we're on the final lap. He's still got the opportunity to use his Anoa hyperdrive.
Yes, in the Continental Traction Challenge as well. So actually, if you've got a big gap like this, you might as well go for it. He does. So I'd be interested to see if the Continental Traction Challenge times change as a result of these drivers who are under not too much pressure. Look at that, Faust doing the same thing. So they all know, don't they? Could that be the difference in the tiebreak between going up or not into the grand final? Literally everybody. Scheider fires his, a hyperdrive as well. Kevin Hansen on board, gritting his teeth. But yeah, it's a significant gap, and of course it is now about just getting the car through to the finish. No point in risk other than getting those extra points, Nicky, for the Continental Traction Challenge or even the advantage of the tie-break. You don't want to risk it ultra hard now when the gaps are... No one's going to make a pass here without an issue for another car.
Yeah, exactly. They just want a nice, clean finish to this qualifying heat, and then we will find out who goes through to the grand final. Of course, we still have the second heat in qualifying 2 to go.
Kevin Hansen up through the last couple of gates, breaking there into there it is, Veloce on the right. So Veloce have gone quickest. So Kevin Hansen and Tanner Faust has moved up to P2. So 2 of the drivers in here have moved up. GMC were in P3 before, so that has worked an absolute treat. Not only have Veloce won, I think both of their qualifying races they're at the top of the table for the Continental Traction Challenge, so they are absolutely odds on for being top qualifiers. We've got another race to go, so if RXR can win their race and steal the Continental Traction Challenge, they could be top qualifiers. But at the minute, Veloce, yesterday's winners, are looking very much like the favourites.
Now let's take a look at the qualifying to Heat 1 results. So unfortunately, another DNF for the Andretti team, rolling it for Timmy Hansen. Then the Carl Cox Motorsport team in P4. A frustrating drive for the McLaren team with a P3. It's going to be tough for them to get through to the grand final. But Hammer Ganassi Racing with a P2. And yet again at the top for a second time in today's qualifying, it's the Veloce team with Taylor and Hansen.
Now, we've got some pretty amazing drivers out here in Season 3. Some of them have been here right from the start. The Andretti squad, for instance, hasn't changed since round 1 of Season 1, but Molly Taylor was the champion in Season 1 with Johan Kristoffersson for RXR. Fantastic drive by her. She then lost out on that. She's driven for another couple of teams since, signed up with Veloce now. But basically, another one of our legendary stories. And if you've missed any of the previous 2 seasons, we've got a little recap for you.
2 years ago, a new kind of racing was born.
Welcome to the Santa Elena. Welcome to the biggest adventure of our time.
A revolution in speed and sustainability.
Wouldn't it be great to be a part of something that really does make a difference?
A showcase of technology and innovation. Extreme E.
No lifting! Oh, he hit her!
Oh, look at that! An all-electric off-road racing series travelling to the most remote corners of the planet to highlight the effects of climate change. In Season 1 and 2, the series visited 7 different locations around the world, starting in Alula, Saudi Arabia.
Kristoffersson goes out wide, now he's going to make the cut back and try and carry the speed through the corner. He kicks the car up really high.
The race was won by Rosberg X Racing, a team led by 2016 Formula 1 world champion Nico Rosberg. The championship in Season 1 went down to the wire as RXR battled Lewis Hamilton's team X44 throughout. After 4 dramatic rounds, it came down to the final race of the season.
3 laps to decide our champion.
Incredibly, Rosberg X Racing took the title by the tightest of margins, with a tie-break having finished the season on the same championship points as X44. As Season 2 got underway, RXR continued their winning ways, dominating at the opening Desert X Prix.
Johan Kristoffersson, the reigning champion, crosses the line to take the win in round 1.
Round 3 in Sardinia saw Johan's new teammate for Season 2 also delivering the goods.
Michaela Arlen Kotlinski at the wheel, past you Decline Smith, just into the water splash, and RXR take the win in round 3.
But in round 4 in Chile, X44 were determined to fight back.
Wow, X44 muscle their way through. Look at them go almost over at the same time.
They took their first win of the season to leave them within touching distance of the title as we headed to the final round in Uruguay.
And look at those 2 title rivals going together all the way. It's RXR versus X44.
Sebastian Loeb fires up the inside.
X44 have won this championship.
A title each for Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton's teams in the first 2 seasons. Can one of them make it too, or will there be a new name in the Extreme E history books as the new championship fight gets underway? as well as all the on-track action. This is a championship that really puts the climate at its heart. Extreme leaves a lasting mark on different locations in which it races, and this is more about the legacy programme.
We brought our drivers here last year as part of our first ever trip to NEOM. I think we were the first project where we actually rewilded a lizard species and planted the first of their huge regreening programme. The level of the project that NEOM is investing in here is almost unprecedented. It's one of the largest conservation efforts going on in the world right now. But today was part of their biggest release yet.
Just before I set some framework to what we're doing today, I would like to also emphasize that we are releasing 3 wild species, not just 2. So there's the sun gazelle, the ostrich, and Christine GC, that they're going to be released back to the wild.
NEOM is putting on a big project here to rewild a lot of different species. And we've been rewilding sand gazelles and redneck ostriches behind us. But yeah, it's pretty special to see.
This is the biggest rewilding project in the world right now. It's the south of Belgium, this area, and 95% of this area is set aside to nature restoration projects. So this is all going to be green in many years.
So the regreening project actually started with the Extreme Legacy event last year when you guys came here, and we started with 20 plants that was planted by 10 of your drivers. And that was the start for our regreening project. And this year, we are going to be planting, by the end of this year, 4.5 million plants. For me personally, it's about if you can make a piece of the planet more greener and more wilder, then we are leaving a legacy for our future.
So we were planting some trees here. Yeah. Could you tell me, how big is this area and what does it do for NEOM?
Yeah, so this area where we are now, the plot is 75,000 square meters, 7.5 hectares. But that's a small part of the NEOM planting, which will be 100 million trees.
That's
so that's
amazing.
the job, and would you just contributed your own share to that?
That's amazing. Really happy about that.
It's just amazing seeing what's happening with the work that's being done to bring all these animals back into their native habitat. Now we're down here doing some tree planting, part of the regreening. I think what's really special about Extreme is the legacy projects, because we go to these amazing parts of the world, but we're not just sort of in and out doing our race program. We get to learn about what's happening firsthand with the environment in that area. And you're getting firsthand knowledge shared with you as well. So yeah, I feel very, very lucky to be part of it.
Great work from the drivers and from the series with the legacy projects here in Saudi Arabia, but more work still to do for them. We've got one qualifying race left, Q2, Heat 2. Who is going to be the top qualifier for round 2 of 2023?
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Desert X Prix. Qualifying round 2, Heat 2, is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
1 minute, 1 minute.
1 minute says race control, 1 minute to find out who can potentially take that top qualifier spot from Veloce. We can tell you who can do it. Only RXR can deny Veloce the top qualifier. To do so, they have to win this race. We saw the Continental Traction Challenge as well, and at the minute, Veloce topped the standings on that as well.
Okay, let's take a look at the grid going into this second heat for qualifying 2. Over on the left-hand side, we have Michaela Arlen-Kotelinski for RXR. In the X44 car, Christina Gutierrez. Then Laia Sainz for Acciona Sainz in the red car there in the middle. Then in for Nasser Alatuya, in for Abd Cooper XE, the only male driver in this round. And then Hedda Hossa for JBXE.
Okay, Abd Cooper with a very interesting strategy. They went out earlier on trying to get that Continental Traction Challenge. It's not there now. They know they didn't get good points in the first round. This is a must-win for Alatuya if they want a chance of getting through to the final. So Nasser Alatuya, fourth from the left on your picture, comes across. A little bit of contact with Laia Sainz. Michaela Arlen-Kotelinski's on the inside of both of them. Tiny bit of contact there as well. Laia Sainz out nice and wide. Who's going to use it? Oh, 2 cars at least. Gutierrez and Hosas both fire up there in Noah Hyperdrive. Looking up the inside line. Michaela Arlen-Kotelinski trying to go into turn 2. Inside Acciona Sainz. Great pass by Arlen-Kotelinski. Nasser Alatuya's there as well, though. inside. He's into the rear of the RXR machine. There with a contact. Lyle Sands is in P3, but it's Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski holding on to the minute from Nasser Alatia. Alatia still has his Inoa hyperdrive, we think. Oh, who's run wide? He's gone alternate line. Alatia goes up the inside into the door. Runs the RXR wide. Contact, was it too much? I don't think it was. They were side by side. So Nasser Alatia takes the lead. And in P2, it's Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski for RXR. We said he had to win it, Nikki, and my God, he's going for it.
Absolutely. He's definitely making amends for, you know, the incidences from yesterday, really wanting to improve on those positions from qualifying and making sure he can get himself into the grand final with Clara Anderson, who will be stepping up into the driving seat in a moment. What was interesting, though, Lyle Sands had a fantastic start there. She really got away, but just couldn't keep the pace as they came into that second corner. And it was the RXR team, Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, who really proved her ground.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? Great pass by her into turn 2. There was some really, really fierce moves on the run there. Gutierrez is at the back of these 3 cars for X44. She'll be trying to make a move as well. As she goes out wide, she's trying to get a good exit on this one. Gutierrez, watch the onboard here. Gets onto the soft sand on the inside line. Can't quite find enough traction, but you could see her teeing up proper racing driver style. She went out wide and came in tight. Has anybody got, I don't think anybody's got an Inoa hyperdrive left. I wonder if they might use it on this inside straight. Down the drop off and in. So Arlen-Kotlinski, how far ahead is Alatia? Alatia's 4.8 seconds up the road already, and there's no investigation for that contact, so it's a good pass by Alatia. I said it was firm, but I thought it was a decent one.
Yeah, this is fantastic strategy, actually. But now Nasser and Alatia there, 6 seconds up the road already. So that means when they do the switch over, obviously Clara Anderson can step in and just stay out of trouble. There'll be enough gap ahead that you won't get mixed up in the melee of the 4 cars going on behind.
Yeah, she'll be hoping, won't she? She'll want the biggest gap possible. Alatia has just lit up the timing screen purple. He's gone quickest in Sector 2, Sector 3 and Sector 4. So could they also grab hold again of the Continental Traction Challenge? Now, that won't give them top qualifier like it could for RXR if they want, but it might give them the cut if they need it, if they're on equal points to make it through to the grand final. So Alatia is on a mission here. Bear in mind that jumping into the RXR will be 5-time World Rallycross champion Johan Kristoffersson. We've then got Ekström jumping in for Acciona Sainz. So Clara Anderson is very quick, but she will know that any extra seconds will also help her in defending against 2 incredible drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we do look at the numbers now, so if Alatia for Abu does manage to get through and take the first position, then they will get through into the grand final.
Yeah, we've got a predictor in front of us. They just, yeah, they go through P4, wouldn't they? Yeah. X44 on the cusp with Sainz at the minute. If they finish as they are, they'll be on equal points, so it could come down to X44 and Acciona Sainz, who is the quicker in the Continental Traction Challenge. So we're really seeing how these new rules play out now. You're on board with the X44 of Cristina Gutierrez. Her and Fraser McConnell need to make sure that they get a great time on that Continental Traction Challenge or make a pass. One pass would be enough to give the points, because in front of them is the car they need to nick those extra points off.
But as we've seen at this track, it's really difficult to pass. You know, it's all about the start, really.
It is difficult to pass. You can see it's a bit of contact there, Nikki. So Lyle Sands was into the back of RXR. Watch again, Gutierrez coming out wide, looking for the tight line on the exit. She's got a great exit this time. Has she got enough to get inside the Acciona Sainz machine? Again, not quite enough. They've obviously identified that as a potential passing place, but they haven't managed to make it stick. So she's got to get that car in as tight as she can and hope that Fraser McConnell might find a way past Matthias Ekström on these second 2 laps. Not sure there's anywhere really to pass on the way to the switch zone now. Pressure's on, isn't it? Big time.
It really is. I mean, this is the moment. Everything's still to play for. 2 laps still to go. The driver switch, you just want a nice, clean switch. And remember, we've seen penalties before if they're going too fast into the switch zone. So hopefully they'll take a breath, make sure they hit that 30 kilometers per hour and go into the switch zone. They've got 45 seconds for a driver change.
Sands hit the RXR there, the Sainz machine. It was a bounce off the tyres. And look, oh wow, look, JBXC are right there as well, so Hosserson brought it in. Oh my goodness me, there's less than 2.1 seconds across the 4 cars from P2, but Alatia came home 16.9 seconds clear, and Clara Anderson, I am pretty confident, will be able to hang on to that. She's shown her class. Now getting into the merge here will be difficult. If the RXR's got to go in early, they'll have to lift off. Who's going in first? Okay, RXR heading down to the pit slot. They're lucky there. We've seen that before where the inside car has blocked them off. So in now, driver change as quick as we can, and we are going to have an incredible race to decide who makes the final. Look at that. That's the pass from Alatia. It was fierce, wasn't it?
Coming through. Yeah, I've got this. And I'm going to take P1, I think was going through his mind.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fierce pass, but it was on for me. He was 3/4 of the way out the inside. Yeah, a little bit of contact, but it wasn't 90-degree contact. Here's the merge link into the braking zone. Oh, wow. So Gutierrez. I wonder if Gutierrez, did she speed? I think Gutierrez might have been speeding in the entry, Nikki. Watch this. She comes in on the right-hand side. Look, comes in really hot through. She then guns it here. But did she get on the pit limiter or not? Maybe she did. If she did, Gutierrez has made up 2 places in the braking zone to the merge. Well, they're going to head out anyway in that position. They're under investigation for speeding.
Coming out at the same time.
They're X44 are under investigation for speeding. So the RXRs come out not where they wanted to be, especially with X44 being under investigation. Meanwhile, Clara Anderson is in a different postcode. Look, that's her disappearing over the crest. Now this is on.
Yeah.
This is really on for places in the grand final.
Remember, right on the bubble at the moment as it stands, X44 and Sainz are basically matched on points, 12 points each if they finished as they would now. However, it would then come down to the Continental Traction Challenge to see who's going to be fastest.
So Fraser McConnell has used his Inoa hyperdrive on the exit of the switch zone, and that's because he wanted a little gap from Kristoffersson. Kristoffersson, though, has still got his, and I'm certain he'll use it on the straight if he feels like he's close enough. Just one position up for them. I mean, RXR, unless he can close down the gap to Clara out front in at Cupra, which is, it's a huge gap. It has come down by a couple of seconds, but she can cruise, Nikki. She's got 2 laps. As long as they manage it, don't let it get within 5-6 seconds, she'll be all right.
I've never known a racing driver to cruise.
Well, there is that. Right, here we go. Kristoffersson on the exit. Wait for him to lose the wheel spin. Is he close enough, or is he going to wait? He goes. So Kristoffersson uses the Inoa hyperdrive now. Full power. Fraser used it earlier on the exit of the switch zone, and the RXR will make an easy pass here. Now McConnell is ahead of the Acciona Sainz, so in theory, I think that's all they need to go through. But of course, if they get a penalty, so he now needs as big a gap as he can get, Nikki, in case they get a 5. The penalty could be 2-3 seconds if they weren't speeding by much. So McConnell has got to get after it and get as much of a gap as he can on the Acciona Sainz machine behind.
Yeah, look at that gap developing now. Still 11 seconds between Anderson and Kristoffersson. That's just a brilliant position for the AB Cupra team to be in right now.
Where is Acciona Sainz? Whereabouts are they? I can't see the gaps. Oh, it's only showing 2 seconds. There they are. It's only showing 2 seconds. We didn't see them in the previous shot. I wonder if they might have disappeared. Okay. We're going to take a look at lap times for the Continental Traction Challenge. At the minute, Veloce still hold on. Those teams that are on the cusp of it.
X44 and ABS Cupra.
Yeah, and X44 down to 7th, ABS Cupra 4th. On board with Ekstrom. So Ekstrom, he will probably have been told, you need to get past. So at the minute, he's in. They're just at the top of the bottom 5. If he gets past McConnell, they'll take a couple of points, and that might, I don't know if it will be enough to move them up, actually. I think it'll put them at X44 equal on points again.
So does Ekstrom still have his Inoa hyperdrive?
Yes, he does. Left-hand side of the screen, the little X shows he's still got that power. So is he going to use it on this inside section here and try and get through? I reckon he'll wait for the front straight. I reckon, because that's just a safe place to do it, Nicky. You know, you don't want it. It's all about risk management, as we saw yesterday. If you have a shunt, if you go out, you're in all sorts of trouble. McConnell can't manage any kind of risk. He's just got to keep flying,
and that
keep
4-second boost makes a huge difference to the power. Massive increase to up to 400 kilowatt hours, over 550 brake horsepower, and you do see them just flying past on the straight along the beach there. So look out for that move if Ekstrom does use his Inoa hyperdrive then.
The gap is 6.2 now to the leader for Kristoffersson, so he's really chasing Anderson down, but he hasn't got long left. This is the final lap. I don't think he's going to get there. Now Clara Anderson uses hers, so she's gone Inoa hyperdrive down the front straight to give her and the Cupra team a little bit more of a gap and more of a chance of making it through. Here comes Matthias Ekstrom. Round the outside, uses that extra boost of power to get alongside Fraser McConnell, but he hasn't quite got it done. McConnell going to try and go deep on the brakes. You know what happens if you go inside of this one. McConnell close in on the waypoint flag. Ekstrom not risking the roll on the inside line. RXR just up in front. The 2016 World Rallycross champion looking for a way past. Looks to the inside line McConnell desperately hanging on for his new team. X44 just in front, RXR. Christopherson, look, the gap 6 seconds out to Anderson. Here she is. Cara Anderson coming around. What is the penalty? 3.7 seconds. So they're going to drop back anyway. Fraser's going to drop back a position. That might mean it comes down to the Continental Traction Challenge in terms of whereabouts these teams finish. Still Ekstrom piles the pressure on. Still he tries to find a way through. Alatia and Anderson, though, coming up towards the finish line. This is a brilliant result for Abt Cupra. Great tactics from them. And they're going to book themselves a spot in the final here. We're pretty sure of that. Just a couple of corners to go. Look at Christopherson behind's got it down to 4.7 seconds, but brilliantly managed by Clara Anderson, the Abt Cupra squad. Fantastic tactics. We think it'll be enough to put them through to the grand final. They're coming up towards the finish line now. There they cross over the finish in the background. Watch out for RXR. So RXR coming over the line, P2. X44 with a penalty are going to drop behind Acciona Sainz. And they do at the bottom of your screen. Take a deep breath. That was a proper encounter, and the points are being updated as we speak.
So X44 and Sainz join on 12 points each. So once again, we will then have to go to the Continental Traction Challenge times to see which one of those goes through to the grand final.
And there it is. So we're looking, who's ahead?
X44
in
is
P8.
down in P8. So
Acciona
it's
Sainz.
Acciona Sainz that will go through. Congratulations to them.
Delight for Abt Cupra as well.
Guys, we don't do it for nothing. Yes!
So let's take a look at the results from that session. JBXE down in 5th. X44 in 4th, but it was Sainz, Sands and Ekstrom with the Sainz team battling it out for 3rd. RXR in 2nd. And the Abt Cupra team, the strategy played out perfectly for them, and they have secured themselves a P1 in the qualifying Heat 2, but most importantly, they will be through to that championship grand finale.
Oh, look how pleased they are. They stayed up till 4 in the morning to switch over from their car, which was damaged in the crash yesterday. And they've managed to get that championship car through with some incredible tactics this morning. They gave up the win in the first race and they pushed for it in the second one. We, though, are going to go and have a chat with Carlos Sainz, who is down in the command centre. And we are pretty sure, Carlos, looking at the results, we think you finished equal on qualifying points with X44, but thanks to your drivers being further up in the Continental Traction Challenge, we think you're through to the grand final. Do you think the same?
We think the same, yes, but at the moment we need to confirm because it's you know, it's not so simple. But at the moment it looks like that. But let's see, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But if it is like that, you know, it has been really tight. Well done for the drivers. Another final is really good news.
Okay, let's take a look at the standings at the end of qualifying. It is Hansen and Taylor for Veloce who are the top qualifiers with a win in both Q1 and Q2. Then RXR, Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing, Abt Cupra making it after pulling an all-nighter. And then look at this, the split between the grand final and the redemption race. Acciona Sainz and X44 equal on points, but that faster time in the Continental Traction Challenge puts Acciona Sainz through. Here's your lineup for those two races. The 5 teams, remember, that have made it through to the grand final will have their grid positions decided by grid play, and in the redemption race they'll choose in order of their qualifying. But it's Abt Cupra, Veloce, Acciona Sainz, RXR and Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing in the grand final. JBXE, Andretti Altaquilit, X44, Neon McLaren and Carl Cox Motorsport in the redemption race. With world-renowned racing teams up and down the paddock, the Extreme E grid is packed with fierce competition. But in the star-spangled world of motorsport in the USA, no name is more synonymous with success than Chip Ganassi Racing.
I started in off-road racing basically in dirt bikes when I was a teenager. And that developed into being a driver in Indianapolis. Later started a team. We went on to win the Indianapolis 500 6 times, I think, and won the championship there 14 times now. And we branched out into NASCAR. We won the Daytona 500. We've been in IMSA. We won the 24 Hours of Daytona. In the WEC, we won at Le Mans, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Chip Ganassi Racing in the global motorsport world, well, we are Chip's passion. Everything about our world, everything about Chip's world is motorsports. It's 365 days, it's 4 different series globally, and we like the big wins. We're looking for the big wins. You know, I think we're always eyeballing the future. One thing Chip's always interested in, the team is interested in, is innovation. And it's one of the reasons we're in Extreme E. You know, it's a super unique, innovative, exciting series.
This just seemed like a natural fit to come to Extreme E. I think the future of the series is bright. Is the male-female aspect of the sport important? I think it's very important. I think to have the togetherness brings an inclusiveness, if you will, to the sport that other series can't offer.
I'm honored, honestly, to be driving for Chip Ganassi. To be representing and working with GMC on a global stage, I think, is a huge step.
To be a part of Chip Ganassi Racing feels like I've reached the pinnacle of racing. Growing up my whole life, there's teams that you look at as being, you know, the top tier, and Chip Ganassi Racing is by far one of them. You know, it like gives you goosebumps, especially being from the United States where they're based and being so dominant. You put Chip Ganassi and winning like in the same sentence, you know, it's a very competitive, very professional race team.
It's really interesting, this partnership that we have with General Motors and with GMC Hummer EV, bringing it to electrification, bringing it to the global stage, bringing it to motorsports for the first time. You know, we have a lot of trophies in our trophy room, and Chip has a phrase that there's a lot of fingerprints on each one of those trophies. All those fingerprints are everyone in the building, but we always have space for more, and we're always looking for more.
Extreme E is 120% a team sport. It takes the hard work from everyone in the organization, and it takes a good team to be successful.
You know, you either win or you learn. If you're in motorsport, you want to measure yourself against the best in motorsport. And that's also an attraction here in Extreme E. Let's measure ourselves against the best and see where we stack up.
The newest team to join Extreme E in Season 3 is Carl Cox Racing. Carl's actually been involved in so much in the world of motorsport, motorbikes, sidecars, supercars. It's not DJing, all about DJing for Carl Cox, and we can't wait to see what he can bring to the table here in Extreme E. So let's hear from him now and see what advice he might have for the drivers.
So here we go. Extreme E Series 3 gets underway this weekend in Neom for the Desert X Prix, and Carl Cox Motorsports is ready to make its mark. We're handling the Desert X Prix as a 24/7 operation and managing it from across 3 time zones. Our team manager is handling the paddock in Neom, and I'm coordinating in-race strategy from Melbourne. And the team principal is manning our race HQ in London. And of course, the real work is taking place in the car on the circuit with our drivers at the wheel. Oh yes.
Oh yes, indeed. Great to have Carl Cox Motorsport along, isn't it? I'm sure we'll get to meet the man himself at some point. Hope he's watching in Melbourne, Australia. You can catch up with him actually on the latest edition of the Extreme E podcast as well, so go check that out. It's across all the normal platforms. Lovely chat between Carl and James about all the various different motorsports that he's been into. We're into Extreme E today. We've got 2 races still to come, the Redemption race and the grand final for round 2.
Super exciting. This track has provided so much action over the course of the weekend. This, of course, is the first double header of 5 race weekends, 10 rounds in Season 3. And, well, so far, so much action has been served up, but there is plenty more to come.
Yeah, yesterday's finals were carnage, a bit too carnage at times. There was a fair bit of bodywork lost. You know, a car rolled across the top of another car. All the usual sorts of things you expect to see in Extreme E. But yeah, it's been a brilliant track. That turn 1 is so crucial. Is anyone going to pull off a McConnell / Christopherson move? Can someone make it work around the outside? We'll find out soon.
So round 2 of the Extreme E 2023 season kicks off in just a few moments in Saudi Arabia at this new track here in Neom. Look at that absolutely stunning view there. The cars, 20 cars get to race alongside the Red Sea on the left-hand side. It brings all sorts of different attributes to the track, but action is definitely one of them. Can't wait to get started.
Yeah, can't wait as well. It's been great to have you here this weekend. Nikki Shields joining me, Andrew Coley, and we're sending our best wishes to Jenny Gow as well, who will be back in the commentary box as soon as she's fully back up to speed. These guys are up to speed already, of course. These other guys have made it through to the final. Abt Cupra with that brilliant bit of tactics, basically giving up race 1, sticking Alatir in. He got super aggressive in race 2. Top qualifier for Veloce. Yesterday's winners. They're having an absolute banger of a weekend.
It's really phenomenal. A massively strong pairing, the two Veloce drivers. The question is, will that momentum from their good results continue into the racing this afternoon?
We shall see. Arlen Kotlinski and Kristoffersen will have something to say about that, I am sure. Yesterday, of course, they took the checker flag and were then given a penalty that dropped them down. They'll want a bit of redemption for that. Luckily, of course, they're not in the redemption race. They're in that grand final too. The Americans, Amanda Sorensen, RJ Anderson, wide open. Can't wait. Not long to see who's going to win round 2. So this is where we are as we come towards the end of round 2. Double header here for the Desert X Prix. Your grand final, Chip Ganassi Racing, RXR, Veloce, Acciona Science and Abt Cupra. Of course, their grid positions decided by grid play. So actually the top qualifiers have ended up in the middle of the grid. Maybe you won't be happy about that. The redemption race, JBXE, Carl Cox Motorsport, Andretti Tequilit, Neon McLaren Extreme E and X44. So every Extreme E event has an environmental and legacy focus. Here in Neom, Extreme E will be looking at the effects of desertification and explore programs to rewild and increase biodiversity in the region. Alongside this, the Extreme E paddock is a hotbed of technology and innovations dedicated to a better future.
So for over a century, we have been using fossil fuels as the convenient carrier of energy to trade energy in the world. And yet we have now realized this came with a big risk, which is climate change. So in the quest for a new source of energy, we are obviously converging in renewable sources like wind and sun. But the problem with those renewable sources of energy is that they can be input directly on the grid, but we need to trade it. So how to trade the sun and the wind to places where wind and sun are not abundant. So the solution to that is hydrogen. And hydrogen is actually a solution to that because it's the way nature works.
Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe and mainly exists on Earth in water. To extract it, we need to split molecules. To do this, you can use electrolysis powered by clean electricity. Next, you can mix the hydrogen with oxygen in a fuel cell, which comes into contact with a catalyst and produces electrons which can be stored in a battery for later, and clean water.
Hydrogen basically can replace all of the uses that we have now in place, even in industry, for fossil fuels. Hydrogen can power industry, vehicles, domestic power supply, and even space exploration.
For the first race of Season 3, Inoa has developed a new and innovative fuel cell system that will help power the event in Neom.
Behind us is a massive 1 megawatt fuel cell system, and it will leave no trace, no carbon. The only thing it leaves is clean electricity and clean water. What we are demonstrating here is that a conversion from fossil energy to renewable and clean energy is possible.
Right now, the revolution of hydrogen and the excitement about that revolution sits in industrial settings, it sits on laboratories, but it's not widely shared with the public. So I'm really excited of the opportunity through Extreme E to share the excitement of the hydrogen revolution with the fans and the public. And that's truly important because to win this battle and the race against climate change, we really need to embrace and adopt the hydrogen revolution.
Our redemption race is coming up next. This is our bottom 5 teams. X44 have found themselves in it. Cristina Gutierrez joins me now, and it was that speeding penalty in the qualifying 2 that's put you here. Talk me through what happened.
Yeah, my start, it was not the best. I took the 4th position in the beginning. At least we need the 3rd to pass to the final. I take a lot of risk in the pit stop because I needed to overtake. If you press the bottom up to 50 km/h, the bottom doesn't work. So it was my problem because I press, but it was like 50, 55 km/h. The bottom doesn't work, and I enter in 30. I press the throttle, and the button is not activated. So it's the same because also after that, with the penalization, maybe we can take a little bit of gap to try to avoid this penalty, but finally we finished 3rd, and with the penalty finished 4th. This means that we are going to the redemption race.
Well, we'll see how you get on. Thanks, Cristina, and sorry it didn't quite work out. Thank you. So the redemption race is new for this season, of course, the brand new sporting format. Round 1 and round 2 per race weekend, the redemption race. A chance for points, a chance for a bit of redemption out there. One team who certainly needs that. X44 DNF'd in the final yesterday as well, so a miserable weekend for them all round. One team who've had a torrid time of it. Their mechanics have been super busy as well. And that is Andretti. Well, I'm going to see if I can sneak in. I mean, he's smiling at the moment, but Timmy, just quickly, talk us through what happened, the roll and now the redemption race.
Yeah, it's just devastating, actually. You know, I was following RJ through the dust, keeping the same speed as him, just trying to maintain the gap. But, you know, in the dust, you can get kind of disoriented, and I just hit that bump slightly on an angle, actually lower speed than before, but yeah, that just put the car upside down suddenly. So one moment I was in the race, and the next I was on the roof, and felt like it came out of nowhere. But hey, I got to try to improve, keep it on the wheels. We got one more chance now. So in the redemption race from the middle, I know we can be fast. Like in that Q1 race, we had a great run. So the pace is there, everything's there, but hey, we've got to not be on the roof, I guess.
No, try and keep it on 4 wheels. Thank you very much, Timmy. Good luck.
Thank you.
So it's Fraser McDonald who has actually signed for a full season for the first time at the X44, replacing Sebastian Loeb. Jamaican driver, a huge amount of experience when it comes to rallycross. He races in Nitro Rallycross at the moment. You know him pretty well, Andrew.
Yeah, I do. He's having a fantastic season over in America. 3 times top qualifier, 1 times a winner. He's come up through the rallycross ranks in the States doing R.02 before he sort of graduated to supercars in Europe and then Nitro. So about time we saw him in Extreme E. This time he's going to be in the redemption race.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Desert X Prix. The redemption race is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
So this is it. This is the moment everyone has been working towards over the course of this weekend. 10 drivers, 5 teams, all heading into the redemption race and the challenges that it will throw up.
1 minute, we're hearing from race control. Oh, some people in here who really need some proper redemption, don't they? Yeah, that's about how many points can you get. But, you know, Andretti and Carl Cox Motorsport, they've had a shocking weekend.
Let's take a look at how the drivers are lining up on the grid. So on the left-hand side, it's X44 with Fraser McConnell behind the wheel. Neon McLaren's driver, Tanner Faust, followed by Timmy Hansen in the middle. Andretti, then Timo Schneider for Carl Cox Motorsport, and Heikki Kovalainen for JBXE.
Can they get that redemption they so crave? Then Fraser McConnell will certainly want a better result than this. He would have wanted to be in the main final. All these drivers would, but that is how competitive this series is. Getting themselves ready. Quick clap of the hands for Faust. Shrugs himself into the seat. One last pull on the belts. 10 seconds before we launch ourselves down towards turn 1. You'll be pulling on the handbrakes now, getting the cars ready to release. On comes the 1. Full focus on the lights. Oh, it looked like not the greatest reaction time of Timmy Hansen as he got good traction away. Sorry, Tanner Faust has got good traction away from the line. Around the outside, it's Carl Cox Motorsport. Oh, Timo Scheider, that car looks really soft. Bouncing through everybody now on the hyperdrive. Fraser McConnell on the McConnell line. Down the right-hand side, he's going to come into turn 2. A long way in front. Timmy Hansen trying to come around the outside of Scheider. Scheider runs him out a little bit wide. Heikki Kovalainen has dropped off the back of the pack. Tanner Faust is right in behind Timmy Hansen. All the male drivers up first. The female driver's going to take over at the midway point. But it is Fraser McConnell who's got the whole shot. You're on board with Faust as he looks forward. He's in behind Andretti. That gives you an idea of the visibility, but I think if you stay super close to the car in front, I was going to say you can always see a bit more, but you can't there. Faust pulls out, takes the alternate line to get some visibility, trying to go up the inside of the Andretti out to keel it, and I think Tanner Faust has pulled that off. He has. Moves up to P3 for Neil McLaren.
Very nice move there from Heikki Kovalainen, who hasn't had a huge amount of experience in the car in Extreme. He manages to move his way up into the next position.
Yeah, good move. It really was a great move. Carl Cox Motorsport P2. Well, I mean, X44 don't need quite so much redemption, do they, as Carl Cox Motorsport, because they have had a tough weekend, and I'm sure if Carl's watching, hopefully he's thinking, you know what, I might have to come to Scotland, see if I can bring a bit of luck with me. Coming down into the left-hander up at turn 11, Fraser McConnell leads. Good to see Scheider bang on the pace. So how far back is Faust? Not far, 3.2 seconds is what we're seeing as the gap now.
Yes, of course, it was Tanner Faust who manages to move up to P3 for Neil McLaren. An absolutely brilliant move there. And McLaren at the moment really trying to get on the front foot. They've got to get as many points as possible to really improve on the performance that we've seen from them in the past seasons.
Yeah, they'll want, I think, again, they're another team who could have had better results last year. Unfortunately, Tanner had a massive crash in the dust. It really was a big one as well. We saw it from about a mile away in the dust. Only recognised that it was McLaren because it was the very special McLaren papaya colour. You could see it rolling through the dust in these Saudi Arabian desert. They won't be wanting that this time round. They're in the mix. Remember, this is likely to come, well, it is going to come down to Gutierrez, Christine GZ and Gilmore, Emma Gilmore taking over. Katie Mullins might be a couple of seconds back ahead of Hossos when she takes over 3 back at the minute. But the male driver's got another lap to go-ish. So it's going to be a while yet before they're getting into that switch zone for the all-important handover. Here's waypoint 2. On board with McConnell. This is where Timmy Hansen rolled. Watch this. Over the crest. It is dip, crest, dip. And that's the problem. You get out of sequence, Nikki, and the car can get really sideways.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also see this is where the Continental Traction Challenge will kick in from gate 3 all the way through past that lovely stretch along the ocean. And of course, that's absolutely critical. 2 points available, a combination of the fastest time for both drivers in the team, but 2 championship points available.
And that, you know, you think about it, you're in the redemption race, you've not had an ideal run anyway. You want to go for that, don't you? You know, if X44 could get it, for instance, it'd be 8 points for the win, it's a bit of redemption, another 2 points for the Continental Traction Challenge. Yes, please, that would be nice. But we think the track conditions have still got it in there, Nikki, didn't we? Looking back at the previous session, the time was still there.
Yeah, absolutely. We were wondering whether the time would slow at all, but it really hasn't. It's very much in the same area as it was, just a second between the sessions this morning. And also, it's interesting looking at the track conditions. It hasn't changed too much. I think yesterday we saw the sun was drying out the sand a little bit more, so it was a little bit dusty, whereas today that doesn't, well, apart from in that shot.
Yeah. Well, you know,
there we are.
We know what we mean.
Yeah,
it's definitely less bumpy, I think, than yesterday. We saw some regrading overnight, didn't we? There's the drivers. Imagine the nerves coming in, especially when you know your driver is leading. But that is Cristina Gutierrez, and she is the reigning Extreme E champion. Her teammate, of course, was Sebastian Loeb. Now she's in with Fraser McConnell. She'll be familiar with taking over in the lead, and Gutierrez is a class act. But she's going to have Christine GZ and Emma Gilmore fairly close behind.
Yeah, I mean, Cristina Gutierrez has been a phenomenal driver in this season. Over the course of the seasons that she's been in, obviously learned a huge amount from racing with Sebastian Loeb, a driver with probably the most experience when it comes to this style of racing. But it's going to be interesting to see how the relationship works with her and Fraser McConnell in season 3.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I mean, you know, all coming in hot and running up the back. So a tiny bit of contact from GZ. We've seen that a fair bit because the drivers want to be in just as close as they can. The only car in this race, Nikki, which yesterday was in the grand final, is that X44 machine. So they really will want to win this because they'll feel like, particularly obviously that remember the pit lane speeding. Cristina Gutierrez was saying I pressed the button, it didn't engage, therefore, you know, she's kind of saying, look, I did my best, and they've ended up in this race. They would have been in the grand final. That's where they'll feel like they should have been. That's where they were yesterday. They got 4th yesterday. The best they can hope for today is P6.
Yeah, and everyone coming in and making sure that they stick to that 30-kilometre speed limit. We've seen penalties go out before.
That's fantastic.
We heard someone say there the car is fantastic. Sometimes you can hear, I think it was Timo Scheider said the car is fantastic to Christine GZ. So something about 10. So that again, when you're getting in the car, you want your other driver to say to you, look, it's bad here, it's good here, the car's great, we've got an issue with this, you want a full briefing. Look at that, they've all got it done super quickly. Katie Munnings pulls on the harnesses. The Carl Cox Motorsport machine, one of the first to release. So why hasn't, okay, Carl Cox Motorsport going to take the lead here from X44. They're side by side as they head out of the switch zone. They'll be literally door to door. If there's any contact in here, it will be investigated, but literally side by side for the lead. They're going to release their pit lane speed limiters as they come out of here. Cristina Gutierrez versus GZ. We can't see them. Where have they gone? Out front. It's the race between the top two. There they are. It's Carl Cox Motorsport who takes the lead. So Christine GZ leads from Cristina Gutierrez. Gutierrez going to try and force her way through, and it's Hedda Hozes has used her hyperdrive as she comes out of that zone. Emma Gilmore drops a little way back the top 3 though. Look at this, all holding on to their Renault hyperdrives because, Nikki, they want to make that pass down the beach.
Yeah, absolutely. That we've seen it's either down the beach or, as we said earlier, sort of the back section, section 4, where we can use for the hyperdrive pass. It's really the only overtaking opportunity, obviously down the front.
And as we say that, Gutierrez sticks it up the inside. I think that's the same place we saw Alatia make the pass earlier on. That is up at gate number 6. So gate number 6, there's been a couple of passes there today now. We hadn't seen any at all. So now Gutierrez can afford to hold on if she wants to the hyperdrive, if she wants to hold off. I did think that you might see Christine G just respond immediately and use her hyperdrive, but she doesn't seem to have done so. You're on board now with Gutierrez, the leader, into that long right-hander where we've seen 2 rolls yesterday. Oh, look at the steering inputs hanging onto it. Christine GZ is there, but she needs to be closer if she wants to try and pass. She has used her hyperdrive according to the graphics, so even with it, she couldn't get back.
So I wonder what's going on. I mean, looking back at the timings here, Hozes and Munnings, spreading out a little bit from the rest of the pack, from Gutierrez and GZ at the front there.
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it, whether they've had an issue, whether there was just a little
Someone
mistake.
stopped on track at the back there.
Someone in the background. Was it one of our cars, one of the rescue vehicles?
Potentially a rescue vehicle.
Okay, maybe that. We haven't needed those quite so much today, hopefully. So Gutierrez still has that hyperdrive. Lesh is 3 seconds back. Gilmore is 3 further back from that. Gilmore wants to close that gap down and try and be back up behind as they come onto the beach on the last lap. So that's what we want to do is watch that gap. X44, Vida Carbon Racing have nicked the Continental Traction Challenge. Now, obviously, there are 5 cars still to come, and we still got this lap to go. So Faust and Gilmore could potentially get it, and so in theory, well, Gutierrez, I reckon Gutierrez wants to use it on the next lap because she obviously hasn't used it in there, Nick. It could go even quicker.
Well, I was just about to say, that's incredibly impressive to have that position in the Continental Traction Challenge, and yet she still hasn't actually used her hyperdrive yet.
Yeah, so we don't know whether her time's from a previous session, maybe it is, but for me, if I were the team, I'd be on to Cristina and saying, right, full push through this section. Let's see how hard she's trying and whereabouts she uses it. Into the Continental Traction Challenge, then this for 2 extra championship points. Remember, if a team goes faster in the grand final, they'll lose it anyway, but I expect the grand final to be pretty busy out on track, and that will hinder anyone's opportunities. Look at this, clear track is perfect for it. Now we've got a yellow flag, and we can hear race control saying there's a car on track. Carl Cox Motorsport are dropping down the order. They've gone P2 to P4 on the timing screen in just a couple of corners, but we ride on board now with Gutierrez. Does she use the hyperdrive? Wait for the wheel spin to end. She's going to go at me any moment now. There it is. So full power down the straight, all 4 seconds of all 400 kilowatts that the car can provide. There it is, it's off the side of the track. Gutierrez, did she roll? Yeah, windows are out, I reckon that's a roll. Sorry, GZ, not Gutierrez, Gutierrez leads, but Christine GZ, maybe a roll. She was a long way off the side of the track, Nikki.
That's going to be hugely disappointing for them. I assume that means no points in this race that they'll be taking home.
They'll get championship points, but only, where will they be? One, is it for last? I can't remember what the points are. Yeah, not what you wanted. They're under investigation for speeding as well. Wow.
When it rains, it pours.
It does. Carl, if you're watching, you are welcome, mate. You know, it's just the way it goes sometimes. So hopefully, yeah, only way is up from here. There's a number of teams this weekend that have not got the results they want. Andretti Tequilet as well will be looking for better. Cristina Gutierrez bringing home the X44 machine for her team and for her teammate Fraser McConnell. Great pass by her, leaving her free on that last lap to use the Anoa Hyperdrive. Oh, that's the JBXE machines on its side as well. So Hedda Hosas is on her side out of course. 2 big incidents, but we're going to get to the flag. Here comes X44 to take the win in the redemption race. At the minute, it's 8 points, potentially an extra 2 for that Continental Traction Challenge. There's a fair bit there, Nikki, that we might have to go back and have another look at.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is, if all goes to plan at the end there, 8 valuable points for the X44 team and Gutierrez. Emma Gilmore, Neon McLaren, is in P2.
Yeah,
which means
they won yesterday, didn't they?
6 points for them.
The redemption race, so P2 today. They've done, and for being in the redemption race, they've done well, haven't they, for that? Katie Money's go on.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, obviously they've had so many issues over the course of this weekend. I think, you know, to be here at the end of the race, to be able to go home with 4 points, it's not ideal, but you can see a rather emotional Emma Gilmore there.
It's so physical out there, isn't it? Probably would have wanted to win it. Gutierrez, though, say as reigning champion, is ultra quick, and McConnell was too. So this is replay, I'm reckoning GZ. So look down in the middle of your screen, Christine GZ coming in hot, gets a bad bounce on the way in, and we were right, she rolled. She rolled and ended up in the opposite hole. Timmy Hansen ended up in the hole on the left-hand side of that gate yesterday. It's like, I'm sure you've all been to a beach where there's a palm tree and the sand dips off around it, and then she struggled to get the car out of that hole, Nikki.
So difficult, isn't it? You're pushing, you're trying to lay everything on the line, really finding the limit, but all it takes is, as you say, a tiny change in the undulation of the track, and that's the consequence.
That's the redemption race at round 2, done. Okay, we are going to be able to have a catch-up with Fraser McConnell, who is, of course, X44's new signing, Jamaican driver, who I know would have wanted to be in the grand final. But Fraz, you were in the redemption race for this one, unlucky early with that little speeding incident, but you got the job done. And at the minute, you guys are fastest in the Continental Traction Challenge as well. Is that something you were aiming for?
You know, when you have a teammate like Christina, you know, she pulled that one out of the hat. And, you know, everyone's eyes kind of opened up bright and wide, but it's not surprising to me. She's a beast. And, you know, obviously, we would have liked to be in the grand final, but we made the best of a bad situation.
Fraser, talk to us about how you're enjoying your experience with X44. This is your first full season with them.
No, it's super awesome. It's a dream come true. You know, every time I think back to getting the phone call, I still get goosebumps. You know, you being a part of X44 Beta Carbon Racing, you know, Lewis is using this to, you know, promote some of his missions and visions, and, you know, one of those big visions is opportunity. And for me to be in the seat right now is, you know, a lot said with that vision, and, you know, using that opportunity to the best right now, and looking forward to 8 more races.
Fraz, we used to talk about the Loeb line in the Continental Traction Challenge. Yesterday, we named your line the McConnell line up in turn 1. And Kristoffersen pulled off the same move in the final. You must be pretty proud of that.
Yeah, it was a proper scent, a good way to start off my Extreme E career with X44. You know, everyone learned pretty quickly, and, you know, even in Q2 today, you know, Timmy saw that coming up the inside. So gonna have to find a new one going into the next race, but, you know, still decent points, and, you know, hopefully we can hold on to that traction challenge and, you know, move forward with this.
Well done, Fraz. Take care. See you soon.
See you. Thank you.
So Fraser McConnell doing a great job with Christina Gutierrez. At the minute, Nikki, 10 points, which is the max they could get. It'll depend if anyone goes quicker. The thing is, Gutierrez is so fast. Both drivers, of course, have to get a quick time. There's Hedda Hozos.
That's an unusual way of getting out of a car.
Yeah.
One way of doing it. But good to see she has got out and is okay. Another big hit. So here we have the redemption race results. Unfortunately, a DNF for JBXE. Carl Cox Motorsport finishing down in 4th after that big action, an accident. Then it's the Andretti Al-Tequila team in 3rd, Hansen and Munnings with Neon McLaren in P2. And taking the top step in with the 8 points, it is, of course, X44 with McConnell and Gutierrez.
Beautiful backdrop here for round 2 from Saudi Arabia. Still got one race, of course, to come. The grand final is coming up soon. There is the grid awaiting the final 5 cars for that grand final. Bit of carnage to clear up from the redemption race, first of all. Didn't even really see where the JBXE machine, how far off track it was. Some heat haze, as you can see as well. Now, of course, the grid has been decided for this grand final by grid play. People have been voting at home for their favourite teams, and this is how it played out.
Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Desert X Prix here in season 3 of Extreme E, and it is grid play. An X44, Christina, Fraser, second in the vote, so this will be a big sway. Where's it going to go? Oh! Oh! It goes to Acciona Science. Well, let's see how that all adds up for our all-important grid selection. And Apt Cupra have won our grid play. You get your first grid selection. NASA doing the honours. I think I know where you may put it. Grid slot number 5. Thank you very much indeed, NASA. And our final team, number 99 Hummer EV, Chip Ganassi.
Guess we'll take this one.
I guess you might have to. Grid slot number 1. Thank you, RJ. There we have it, the grid for our grand final of round 2 of the Desert X Prix.
Well, these are the teams that have made it through to the grand final. Clara Anderson and Nasser Al-Attiyah for Apt Cupra. Matthias Ekström. Laya Sansby joining up with him with Acciona Science.
Veloce Racing there, Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor, yesterday's race winners.
From needing to use the championship car, working through the night to get it ready, a 30-second penalty, Clara Anderson, Apt Cupra are now in pole position in this final. How on earth have you managed to get this done?
Oh God, no, the team, you know, it's been a team effort. They have been working all night to make us race today, and now we won Q2 and we're into the final, and it just makes me so happy to see everyone working so hard for me and Nasser to go out racing. So now we have one more race here in Saudi and we will make it count.
And you've got that inside line, that all-important grid slot 5 that everyone's been wanting all weekend. You're starting. How important is that going to be?
It's important, but we also have to remember it's 4 laps. Extreme E is so unpredictable. So I will push, that's for sure, but we need to cross the finish line also.
Because you're the only team that has put the female driver first. You'll be up against every other male driver out there. I don't think you're going to be intimidated though, right?
No, I mean, I raced against most of them in World RX, so I know what they can do, and they know me, so let's have some fun.
I'm sure you will. Thank you so much, Clara. Best of luck. Great to see Apt Cupra's recovery this weekend, isn't it? And then Veloce won yesterday, picking up their first ever win. Veloce, I'll head through the garage, and somehow I think I'll find the drivers who I'm sure are prepping intently for this one. Kevin, Molly, how are you going to get the double done, Molly?
We're going to be the first across the line.
You two and your answers today.
Yeah, we have to do our best. The start's really important. We've seen that, and then it's about managing the race and the strategy and where to maximise and where to push and where to look after the car. So we just have to find the right balance of it all in the moment.
Grid slot 3, Kevin, how important will that start be?
It's super important. We've seen how important the first 2 waypoints are in this race on this track. So I believe everyone is trying to crunch the numbers and understand what everybody will do and what themselves will do. So we will do what we believe is right for us and hope that it pays off. And if it doesn't 100%, we'll just try to overtake everybody on track. I mean, I got my secret weapon, so.
We will see what happens. You're hiding your notes there. I love it. Full prep going on. Here we go then. It is time for our grand final.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Desert X Prix. The grand final is about to begin. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Here we go then. 1 race left to go. Saudi Arabia, NEOM, the first 2 rounds of Extreme E 2023. 10 rounds this year, spread over 5 venues, double headers at each. Great lineup for the final at Cooper, Acciona, Science, Veloce Racing, RXR and Chip Ganassi, Hummer EV. Oof, who's your money on?
Oh, gosh, don't ask at this point. No commentator's curse here. Yeah, I mean, let's just remember, these guys have been working furiously over the course of the weekend to get to this point. 25 points up for grabs, plus the extra 2 for the Continental Traction Challenge. Let's take a look at the grid. So on the left-hand side, we've got Clara Anderson for Ab Cupra, Matthias Ekstrom for Acciona Science. In the middle, Kevin Hansen for Veloce Racing, followed by Johan Kristoffersen with Rosberg X Racing and RJ Anderson, Hummer XV Chip Ganassi.
Marshals are clearing the grid. Red light's still on. We've got a little hold yet before we head off.
I like this moment.
Yeah.
I like seeing what all the drivers are doing,
It's
how
great,
they're reacting, getting into that moment. What are they thinking about? Are they running the track in their mind? Do they have some kind of technique, breathing technique?
It's that plan thing, isn't it? You know, everybody has a plan until they get to the first corner. I'm loving the fact Clara Anderson, when she was asked, yeah, what, she said, I know these guys well running across, they know me. Let's go, let's have some fun. The only female starting the final because of the tactics they used earlier in the day to give her the best chance to get a great shot at the Traction Challenge, and NASA a good chance to try and win their race. Great tactics to get them into the final.
Yeah, Kevin Hansen for Veloce is starting in that middle position, but we've seen actually the race can be won from any of those positions. I think we were favouring the left-hander spot initially, but actually it can be done. At the start, so critical here.
The drivers are a funny bunch, Nikki. They always think they want to be on the inside. You give them a choice to take the inside because they always believe they'll win the start, get to turn 1 first. It's just that racing driver's belief. So they want what we would call the pole, the inside line to the first corner. But Kristoffersen, yes, they pulled it off from P5. I think McConnell on day 1 with that move to get the whole shot was P3 or P4.
Okay, on the start.
Prediction?
1 minute.
1 minute to go.
1 minute to go. Quick prediction, who's going to use their NOA hyperdrive off the start? Anyone?
I think anyone who's in with a shot, if you know you are not within a shot, if you're P5, you might not, because you might be better saving it either for the extra championship points or to try and make a pass later in the race. But anyone mid-pack's going to have a crack at it because it's a drag race from waypoint 1 to waypoint 2.
The tension is building.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
This is the moment, our second race of the season. Yes, Clara, that's what we want to see.
Clara Anderson
Cupra
getting herself fired up, isn't she? Can she get the job done? Up against some big hitters here, but she's a world championship level driver herself. There's nothing to say she won't come out of this in P1. Adrenaline up, lights are up, everybody's looking to get the best start they possibly can on this sandy run down to what we know is a crucial waypoint 1. Well, the Acciona Science machine of Ekstrom looked like it had 2 stabs at the throttle, but on the left-hand side of your screen, plenty of room for Anderson. She's not going to make it to turn 1 first. Kristoffersen making the same move as yesterday. Now we look for the Anoa hyperdrive. Kristoffersen goes first, but Ekstrom's used it already, has got a brilliant exit. No one's getting back to Ekstrom. Kevin Hansen is inside Johan Kristoffersen. They go through turn 1. Kristoffersen sideways in the dip. The RXR machine, and Hansen explores the limit of the right-hand side of the road, almost off into the palm trees. That was so fast through turn 2 for Kevin Hansen. It is Ekstrom who leads for Acciona Science. Kevin Hansen, yesterday's winners with Veloce, and in P3, Rosberg X Racing, and Kristoffersen pulls out to the left-hand side, mainly to get some vision, but there's your top 3.
Absolutely phenomenal start there from Matthias Ekstrom, starting in the second position.
Veloce, they bogged down in turn in that corner, and look, RXR have gone straight round them.
Oh no, we need the sand to clear. Right, okay, so have they managed to get it back on track?
Yeah, they're still going, but literally the car came to a total standstill. Ekstrom now going to come alongside the Veloce. So Ekstrom's got a better exit. Look to your right-hand side, you're on board now. Kevin Hansen moving across to try and defend from Matthias Ekstrom in the Acciona Science machine. Meanwhile, look, the RXR's all the way down. Now Ekstrom moves out to the left. This will give him a better entry into the right-hand side. But we know there's nowhere to pass in here. Look at the amount of gap that closes down. Kevin Hansen sideways. The track's getting cut up now. Everybody put in multiple inputs to try and hang on to these cars. No way through for Ekstrom.
Yeah, it looked like Anderson was losing some pace there on the straight. Ekstrom, however, just clean, running away with it. He's got a 4.5 second lead now.
You're right, it's me completely wrong. I'm thinking Ekstrom's down there at the back, and I've got completely the wrong car, Nicky. There you go. We borrowed you from Formula E. It's me getting it all wrong. You're right, it's the Hummer EV. So yeah, Ekstrom checked out the front. App Cooper is still in the running at the back. Look, you can see Clara Anderson is right there still. She's just a second behind the GMC Hummer EV.
Now, interesting, she's still got her hyperdrive to use, so is this going to be her strategy? She kind of held off a little bit at the start. I don't know if that was intentional or she just felt like there wasn't the space to push on through.
That's what we were saying, wasn't it? If you come P5, if you're not going to make it through, then don't waste it. If you know you can't get there, and she knew that she was last into turn 1. She wants to be on the back of that Hummer EV and see if she can at least get one car on the run in. If she can, you know, that's a better opportunity for her teammate Alatia. Don't forget as well, Nasser Alatia, how aggressive he was in his passes, Nicky, when we saw it earlier on in qualifying. But if he starts where he is now, he's going to have to pass 4 cars if they want to take the win. So that'll be some serious aggression if he gets that done.
Love that, Hansen there, gritting his teeth. Rather bumpy ride ahead, but I'm sure he's used to that.
I think most of these guys are used to a bit of gritted teeth and bumping and banging. I think as well that Ekstrom here is being helped out by the fact that Hansen is applying so much pressure to Kristoffersen. They come through the ruts, do that long right-hander, and all the while you know you're trying to hold somebody off from behind. Look, Kristoffersen goes defensive on the entry here, so he's taken the left route. Kevin Hansen will try and get a better exit, but Johan is probably thinking there's no way through on the exit there. But driving defensively, Nicky, costs you time, and it's just letting the Acciona Science machine of Ekstrom get away. 6 seconds the gap at the minute.
Yeah, and the guys, obviously at this point, again, back to knowing how many points are available. 25 points up for P1, 18 for P2, and 15 for P3. So it really is critical. Each position means a huge amount in terms of championship standings.
Yeah, it certainly does. 10 rounds, of course, but every point counts. The last 2 seasons have been decided by one of them was equal on points, and one was just 2 points different. Kristoffersen up over the crest, Hansen following in tight into the last few corners. They'll head back out to the coast for a moment. Look at Johan still looks calm in the car, doesn't he? Low sun, filthy screen, visibility is really tricky.
Also, what I love is that this is all about driver skill and talent at this point, because this is a one-car-fits-all, a championship where they all have pretty much the same car, the Odyssey 21.
Hansen's got through. Kevin Hansen's got through. The RXR machine of Kristoffersen, I don't know if it was in the right-hander, we were on board. I think we were on board with Kevin Hansen, I reckon, as he passed, but we didn't see where the pass happened. So Kristoffersen has dropped back 1 place. It's 1.5 seconds back over that big jump drop. Timing at the bottom of the screen is showing positions. I think showing those incorrectly. I'm certain. Yeah, he is. I thought so. Kevin Hansen is through. So our positions just haven't updated the bottom of the screen yet. We saw it. Kevin Hansen making a move. So yesterday's winners up into P2, but they're 6.3 seconds back on Matthias Ekstrom for Acciona Science. So Laya Sand's going to take over there, and Molly Taylor for Veloce.
Yeah, this is the moment. The driver switch. 45 seconds to make a nice, clean, safe swap over for the drivers. Sounds easier than it is. These guys put in a huge amount of practice between races to make sure that this is a nice, smooth moment during the course of the race, but there's a lot going on.
Ekstrom there, fascinating to see what he did into the neutral. Then he reaches down to adjust the belts, because the belts is the thing which takes the longest. I believe they're allowed to have 2 sets of belts for safety. So if you need, because you don't want anybody going out with loose belts, and the low belts are really hard to adjust. Particularly, you think some drivers have to move forward a long way, but not the shoulder harnesses. Clara Anderson climbing out the Apt Cupra. Oh, they can't get the harness in for Laya Sands. Done it this time. Door goes down for Kristoffersson. He moves away and leaves Arlen Kotlinski to go and see if she can make up any of those positions. Veloce handed over, Hansen to Taylor. There goes Laya Sands.
Yeah, Laya Sands has had some great performances over the course of this weekend, so I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do. Hopefully hold on to that position and increase the gap from the rest of the pack.
So right now, they were 1.7 apart when they came in, and the RXR is right on the back of the Veloce machine. Finally, the Apt Cupra gets let out, so Alatia has got a bit of a mountain to climb, but he took 18 seconds out of the grid earlier on. Can he do the same again here and come back to take this? He's 20 seconds off the leader, which is Laya Sands for Acciona Science. His team hasn't taken a win yet. They took their first ever TQ yesterday in round 1, top qualifier, but they haven't managed to take a win. Carlos Sainz is here, of course, the man who the team is named after, with a back injury at the minute, not able to race. Right, keep your eye on that gap. 5.8 seconds is the gap between our leaders and Molly Taylor. And then Arlen Kotlinski just behind that for RXR. They're gonna take risks and try and close this down. Why not? So coming on to the Ocean Straight now, we should see use of the Anoa Hyperdrive. Remember, because they haven't had to use it off the start, they've got plenty of opportunities to now, if they're particularly looking to try and take that Continental Traction Challenge. Now, interestingly, they haven't used it, and that makes me think that they're saving it as a priority to use as a pass, not to try and get the Traction Challenge. They could get both at the same time, but seeing as they're running in air, Nikki, clear air, they could easily have gone for it at that point, and none of them have, so they're all waiting until they're hopefully on the bumper of the car in front. The gap is still 5.5 at the minute. Laya Sands is doing an absolutely brilliant job of trying to hold on to this.
Yeah, look at that. Absolutely flying. So much pace in the car from Sands. She brings a real pedigree, despite having only joined the championship 2 seasons ago. Normally we're used to seeing her on 2 wheels, moved across into 4. It took her a little bit of time to get to grips with the championship in XC. But now I think she's really proven herself.
Very much, yeah. Just to make that transition from 2 to 4 wheels, it is a completely different world.
You should check out her Instagram page. She's done some cool stuff.
Actually,
I was
do
doing
that.
some Instagram stalking. Yeah.
X44 Vita Carbon Racing looks still leading. In fact, Neil McLaren came close to stealing off, just 0.08 of a second behind. Not quite close enough. Arlen Kotlinski is just 3 seconds behind Molly Taylor. Both those drivers are absolutely capable of winning this. They can't close the gap down to Acciona Science. So NASA, bottom right-hand side, 16.9 seconds back now. So he's taken... Amanda Sorensen's going back towards the pack as well, but I think they're going to run out of time. They're on the final lap, and I don't think they're going to be able to get there.
Well, it was a strategy move that they tried this morning that paid off, swapping Anderson and Alatia. Perhaps it hasn't paid off in the course of this grand final race.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tactic was just to get here, wasn't it? You know, the least points in the grand final are worth more than the most points in redemption race. Even if you're last here, it's a much better result than it is fighting for those championship points in the redemption race. And of course, there's a chance of a win. You just never know. The gap is still 5.9. Arlen Kotlinski has dropped a little way back at the minute. Laya Sands, as you see, sweeping up the inside and getting on 2 wheels. Nasser Alatia for Apt Cupra, almost putting it on its roof again, but making a move on Amanda Sorensen. Now we see the use of the Anoa Hyperdrive. They're not close enough to make passes on each other, but they are maybe in a position to be able to try and steal those extra 2 championship points. Veloce would love to get those as well, of course, if they could. After yesterday's haul of points for them, Laya Sands on board now. She must be feeling super stressed.
Yeah, the pressure is very much on in the final lap as they come into that 3rd sector. A nice long right-hander with the beach to your left. Now this is the other overtaking opportunity that we have seen in the past, coming up here down the back in sector 4.
It's Alatia, look, who's coming in hot along that beach front, hoping that he can get close enough to have a crack at Arlen Kotlinski, but he doesn't have his Inoa hyperdrive left. And this team have used their Inoa hyperdrive as well to great effect. It's Ekstrom and Leia Sanz for Carlos Sainz's Acciona Sainz team with just a few turns to go. Yesterday, they took the top qualifier spot. Great performance by them there, but they couldn't convert it into the win. Yesterday, they were P2, but today, they're going to go one better. Leia Sanz is going to come down and jump over the finish line. Acciona Sainz win their first ever Extreme race here at Neom in Saudi Arabia. P2 goes to Veloce, yesterday's winners. And P3 RXR hold on from a hard-charging apt Cupra. Nasser Alatia nearly got back. Amanda Sorensen going to cross the line for GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing in P5. Well, not the closest final we've ever seen, but absolutely job done by Ekstrom and Sanz. Leia Sanz, she must be pleased with that. They've had so much promise. Yes, she is.
A lovely little giggle to herself on team radio, I'm sure.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? To see the pressure dissipate and the smile comes. Just a big, toothy grin. I've done it. I've taken a win. In the command centre there, Matthias Ekstrom, what a job by the 2016 World Rallycross champion. Raced, of course, in Extreme Heat. You know what? It's his first win as well. Even though he'd raced in the previous seasons, they never got that top step of the podium. So Ekstrom, Sanz, and the Acciona Sainz team all taking their first ever Extreme E wins here in round 2. Figuring out how to switch it all off and get out. Well done, Leia. She'll be wondering where the team is. They're still coming over, I think, from the command centre. Where are you? Get running, come on.
Just what a brilliant feeling.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
Really nice to see. Really nice to see.
Yeah.
Very sportsmanly indeed.
Molly Taylor is the most successful female driver in this series. She's actually on 4 wins, Nikki, as of yesterday. She had 3, of course, from season 1 with Christopherson. Taking that win yesterday puts her on 4. She's actually the second winningest driver in the series to Christopherson. So Christopherson has 5, Taylor has 4. And now, Leia Sanz and Matthias Ekstrom have 1 each. On the board.
Just imagine that feeling. Also being the end of a double-header race weekend, they actually get to enjoy this moment. They can celebrate it tonight with the team. You can see how much it means to all of them. These guys and girls working so hard to get the start of the season off to a great, great performance, and they've done just that. Everyone coming over to the podium.
So looking at the results today, yesterday's winners were Veloce with Acciona Sainz in P2. Today it's Acciona Sainz with Veloce in P2. That is fantastic for their championship aspirations. Oh, great.
So how much can we read into these race wins in round 1 and 2, given that, you know, we're very much at the start of the season. 10 rounds in total, so that's 20% of the season completed.
When you look at it that way, Nikki, and you start to look at the consistency of Veloce and Acciona Sainz P1 and P2 2 days in a row, they're going to stretch their legs a little bit, aren't they, in terms of championship points?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to head down now for a chat with Laura and one of our podium finishers.
A first and a second place, Molly. Not a bad weekend at all. How do you reflect?
Yeah, not a bad weekend at all for the start of our season. It's gone really well. We have so many positives to take away from this weekend. You know, there's still so much more potential as well, which is the exciting thing.
And Kevin, how much more is there to come from this team? We've seen this lineup now become established this season, and you're coming away with 2 podiums.
Yeah, it's great, and I mean the team has worked so hard for this, so it's an incredible result to kick off the season. I think our biggest gain is maybe not me hitting the pit limiter on the first lap, so we'll work on that for the next race.
Yeah, that's one place that you could probably improve. Overall, how much has this relationship and this partnership gelled? Molly, I'll come to you.
Yeah, right from the beginning, you know, and I think that's such an important thing in this category is if you can get the most out of each other, then you can build a really strong partnership. So yeah, hugely thankful to Kevin. You know, he's so experienced, especially this type of racing, but also so generous with his time and passionate, you know, about putting in whatever's required. So yeah, I owe a lot to him, and I'm very happy to be his teammate.
Oh, that's lovely words. Kevin, how did you enjoy that battle with Johan as well?
Well, thank you, Molly, first of all, and likewise, 100%. It was an incredible battle. After, you know, bumping the pit, I was on his bumper for the full run, and I think he stressed into the mistake, and that's what it's all about. So it was nice to do the overtake and get a half a lap in no dust. So nice to bring home a P2 for the team.
Some big points this weekend, guys. Congratulations, well done. Enjoy the podium. Thank you.
Well, some smiles from Kevin Hansen and Molly Taylor there on their P2 for Veloce Racing. Interesting what Kevin Hansen was saying. How he accidentally hit the pit limiter. That's so frustrating. We've seen that. I've seen that before in other championships.
We couldn't figure it out, could we? He literally came to a standstill in the middle of the corner. Yeah, so lost a bunch of time there. Got back past Johan. I'm keen to see where he got past Johan. This is a look at the start. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you've got Anderson, who I thought might, with that inside line, get away, but everybody squeezed over. Look at Johan in the RXR. He's gone for the move, but Ekstrom had carried so much speed through turn one, then got immediately onto the Inoa hyperdrive, got away. Then he's got Kevin Hansen on his left-hand side. Kevin gets in front. Now, just a couple of corners later, Kevin accidentally jumps onto the limiter, and Johan goes back past, but he got him later on in the race. So hopefully we'll be able to take a look at that in a little bit more detail. We are going to have a catch-up with our winners, Axiona Sainz, Laia Sanz and Matthias Ekstrom.
I'm joined by our jubilant winners. Axiona Sainz, Laia, I'll come to you. You said finally to me with a huge puff of your cheeks, your first ever win. What was your mindset bringing that one home?
No, I'm really happy, and first of all, thanks to Matthias that gave me the car with a good gap, but I think also had a good driving. And then I also have to thank you, Carlos, for the trust and the work we have done these 2 years. It's not only now, so I'm really happy and thankful with all the teams, Matthias, and also for his help this weekend and all the guys in the team, because he deserved it, I think, after the last season.
It's been building and building, hasn't it? Matthias, Laia saying thanks for that start. Talk us through it. It was something.
No, I felt the team together. We had the strategy, and I just tried to execute as good as possible. And I had a clean turn one, and then driving up front with a clean view is a lot easier than to drive in the dust. And I actually enjoyed every corner, and to see Laia also driving very good in her stint and managing the gap really well. And yeah, it's a nice victory, and feels very special for me to do it with Carlos. It's very emotional for me because he's such a nice person.
Brilliant stuff, guys. Congratulations. Well done. Let's get to the podium.
That's cool, isn't it, to see? It means a lot for Ekstrom. Ekstrom won the World Rallycross Championship with his own team, and he's won here with Carlos Sainz.
Incredible to see. So that's Hummer EV Chip Ganassi down in P5. Abt Cupra, the best they could do today was a P4. Third for Rosberg X Racing. Veloce Racing there. Hansen and Taylor in P2, but it's the almighty Axiona Sainz with Ekstrom and Sanz behind the wheel with their first race win of Season 3 Extreme E.
Will it be the first of many, I suppose, is the question. To see Veloce and Axiona Sainz right up there, but also RXR have been third both days, and Chip Ganassi Racing have made the final both days. We've got 4 teams who I think come away from here and will be really satisfied. X44 have clearly got pace. They're a bit unlucky today with the pit lane speeding thing, Nicky. So I think the season's still wide open, but you've got to maintain this kind of consistency all year if you want to take home a big trophy. So 4 teams leaving as favourites, but we are literally round 1 and 2. You know, there's a long, long way to go.
Absolutely, and of course we will be heading to the Scottish E-Prix next. Very different terrain, very different environment to what we've seen today. You know, a lot of the guys and girls have had experience on this sort of terrain. Scotland will bring a whole host of new environments, and probably a lot of rain despite it being in May.
It might well do. That's fine by me, a wet race. I'm expecting a fair bit of gravel, having seen some of the shots we've seen in some of our various little features this weekend up in Scotland. Great to see the series coming back to
now
the UK.
Be upstanding for the winning team's national anthem.
Of course, happened down in... here we go.
Congratulations to all of our winners and their teams. Our dignitaries will now present the trophies. Katarina Silva, executive member at Continental Tires, will now present the winning team trophy to Carlos Sainz.
There we go, the first winning trophy for Carlos Sainz. I'm sure he'll be over the moon with the result. He actually does look a bit emotional, as was Matthias Ekstrom. I bet as well he would love to have been in the car himself, but it's great to know your team can get the job done.
There have definitely been some tears shed. You can see the emotion in his eyes, and that was a wonderful moment.
Cool, isn't it? The guy's won a lot of stuff in his rally career and his rally raid career as well. RXR, Season 1 champions last year, came so close. They're definitely in the mix.
And these are the rather cool trophies made from recycled plastic bottles. That's going to stand out in your trophy cabinet.
It is, yeah, it is. P2, they were second yesterday, got promoted to first, of course, after the penalty for RXR for speeding.
Place trophies to
their moment.
Yeah. P1. Ekstrom and Sands. Look at how pleased Laya Sands is. Ekstrom is too, but remember Ekstrom's won so much stuff in cars before. This is Laya Sands' first big win in cars, and it's a win here in Saudi Arabia. Round 2 goes to Acciona Sainz. Fantastic.
I'm intrigued to know what they're spraying, because it's not champagne.
No, it's not. It's not.
Water.
It's awesome, isn't it?
A sigh of relief, isn't it? But of course, on this side, you have the celebrations. There's always at least half the paddock, probably more, with commiseration, thinking, right, we've got a lot of work to do in the next couple of months before our next race.
We've talked, haven't we, about these 4 consistent teams who've been in the final both days. Unfortunately, that means there's 4 teams that have been in the redemption race both days, Nikki. We know poor old Andretti Autokilit and Carl Cox Motorsport have had a rough start to the season. But I think it's important to remember that any of these top teams could have a weekend like that, and at that point you fall out of contention. Likewise, they could turn it around and have an amazing weekend like these guys have. It's certainly not over. You know, we're 2 races into a 10-race calendar. We've got new venues to go to, but yeah.
Exactly, and you know, it all comes down to sometimes just a little bit of bad luck. If you look at Andretti's performance over the course of the weekend, their pace was really there, but just a couple of mistakes, you know, turned the car. Big accidents ultimately jeopardised the rest of their weekend.
Brilliant result for them. Fantastic. Carlos Sainz raises their arms in the air. They've won round 2 here in Saudi Arabia. 2 rounds here, and of course, we've got 2 rounds coming up next from Scotland, a brand new venue, highlighting some new issues, and of course, a fantastic new track to go racing on. This is what we're going to be facing when we head to Scotland.
So there you have it, 13th and 14th of May. We will be heading to Scotland. But what a day it has been here in Saudi Arabia, Neom, to kick off Season 3 of the championship.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant action. A bit of carnage as always. We've had some new winners. We've got some consistent performers. We've got some people who need to turn it around. But a great way to kick off the season. Thanks to Laura Winter, Nikki Shields. I'm Andrew Coley, and we will see you in Scotland. This is unbelievable. Alatia goes up the inside into the door. Machine's on his side as well. Gutierrez sticks it up the inside. Through turn 1. Christopherson sideways in the dip and getting on 2 wheels. Acciona Sainz win their first ever Extreme race.